Everyone, welcome back to the Tableau tutorials. In this video, we are going to learn something more about this particular data source screen, that is the welcome screen, after importing the data source into Tableau. Now, so far what we have learned about is the different data types, the metadata, and how can we organize the different columns, how can we work with hidden columns, with the aliases, etc. Now there is a really important data source that we weren't able to cover in the previous video, and that is this globe symbol, which refers to the geographic role kind of a data. Now if you just click on this globe symbol, like for this country column, you will see that the string value is selected, but if you go into this geographic role, in this geographic role the country region is selected. That's exactly the name of the column as well. So what happens over here is actually the data type is the country/region, that's why we are getting the globe symbol. But how do we represent it? We represent it with the help of string. It is actually a string value, but if we just dig deeper a little bit, then we would be able to find out the real situation or the real thing that's going on. Okay. Similarly, for the cities, if you just go to the geographic role, then automatically the city thing is selected. If you go for state, then automatically this state/province is selected. Also, if you have area codes, then Tableau will automatically able to identify them. However, the area codes needs to be of US, because Tableau is developed by a company that is actually based in US, so that's where they are inclined towards a little bit, but otherwise you would be good to go. Okay, so these are some of the information. Now let us talk about this particular column. So this column, order ID, has a bunch of data available in it, like the first two letters, CA or US. Then we have the 4 digits, which are the years in which the sale was done, and the last three part, the third part, or the last few numbers are the actual order numbers. Okay, so this is the kind of the data that it is comprised of. If you want to split it, how can you split it? If you just right click over here in this kind of a column, like if you see in the row ID, if you just right click, there is no option of splitting. But if there is a column that has a potential to be splitted, or has any kind of symbols that that can act as the splitting symbols, then this option would be available in Tableau, and that is the option of split and custom split. So you can split them in two ways. Firstly, the split that would be done by default by Tableau, and then the custom split. So let's just go with the split option. If we just select the split option, so what happens, the original column, that was the order ID column, is still there. Tableau has split it into 3 parts. The first is the data before the hyphen, before the first hyphen, that is CA or US. The second is the data between, that is the year, and the third is the order number. Now if you want, you can just select their data types, like it's going to be string, it's going to be the whole number, and instead of the whole number, actually it could be the date type. But if we just go for the date type, so this kind of a data would be there, so it's okay to just go with the string data. And last but not the least, this is a whole number, so we can just go with this. If you want to change the name of the columns, you can simply just double click or go to the arrow and select rename, and provide the new values like order number for here, and the year of order over here, and here we can just provide it like country code or something like this, whatever you want. Okay, so these are the 3 columns that have been created from splitting the original column. If you want to delete the columns, how can you delete them? Just control click to select multiple columns, right click, and here is this delete option. They have been removed completely. Okay, similarly, if you just want to suppose delete the row ID, right click over here. There is no option to delete the row ID. Why? Because row ID is a part of our original data source. That's why we cannot delete it, because deleting it would mean that we are making changes to our original data source, which is not permitted by Tableau. That's the data security that's been provided to us through Tableau. This is also a feature we discussed in the introduction videos. So this is how it works. Now this was the normal split, the split supported by Tableau. However, if you want to work with a custom split, how can you work with it? Right click, go to this custom split option. The first thing that you need to specify is the separator. So these are the common separators, the hyphens, the commas, the semicolons, colons, etc. What our separator is? It's hyphen. You can just specify it. Even if it is a space, you can specify the space. Now what do you want to split off? So what I want is, I just want to extract the year from here. So I want to split neither the first part, neither the last part, neither all. So what can I do? I can go for the last and increase the number of columns to 2. Now if I just click on OK, then what happens is, this is the column that I wanted and this is the column that has been generated, but I don't want it. So I can just right click and delete this. This is the column that I've got and I wanted to work with it. So I'm happy. However, I really don't want it, so I can just delete it as well. Okay. Now one thing that I wanted to tell you is, let me just undo that option, and that was using the Control Z shortcut key, really famous. If you just go into the metadata option, now this is the column that we have created, right? That's why it is not associated with the orders table. We are not getting the orders entry over here, and the remote field name is also the same over here. There is this drop down option available over here. That means you can perform all these operations here as well into all these columns. Now automatically we get the entry in this particular column as calculation, because this is not a part of our original table, but it is a thing that has been calculated by us, and this blue line is not present over here. Okay, so if you just want to make some changes like year to it, then the change has been made, and there is no option to reset the values because there is no reference for Tableau to go back to the previous values that it originally had. That is why you cannot just reset it. Okay, so this is how we can work with it. And now the important thing is, this is how these are the things actually that we can perform with the data source. Now one more thing, suppose this is this orders table, along with it you also want the returns table, like you want to extract data from 2 tables. Then what you can do is, you can just drag this table over here into this orders table and wait for a few seconds. Right, now what happens is, this is a kind of a relationship between them. And if you remember, in the returns table, when we saw there were 2 columns, the order ID and the return value, which was yes for all the values. So automatically Tableau has created a connection that the orders tables column order ID must be equal to the returns table column order ID. That's why there is a equal sign between the two. If you want to add more fields, you can add them using this particular option. Okay, let's see over here. So suppose you want to add a particular value, let's say category. You have to find a field that equates it. You can manually just select any field like returned, so that would be selected. But if you want to just delete that column or delete that particular calculation, you can just go with it. Okay, now in the performance options, we have the cardinality, like many to many or one to one relationship that you can just select, or one to many or many to one. These are all the relationships that would be selected. Referential integrity, you can just select to all records match, and that's it. So these are the changes that we have done. Now what happens? Right now this returns is selected. That's why whatever information we are getting is of this returns table. If we just select orders, so the information we would be getting is all of the orders table. So how can we just work with the data that belongs to both the tables, right? How can we combine the data belonging to both the tables, right? So for this purpose, we have to create something that is known as union in Tableau. Now the question is, how do we create it? It's really simple, not a point of stressing. You can just go to this new union option, and yeah, what you need to do is drag the tables over here. So let me just drag the orders table and the returns table and click on apply. Right, okay, so there's been a slight problem. Actually the problem is that we didn't need it to drag the tables from there, we can just use these tables from here only. Okay, how are we going to proceed with it? This is what we will see in the next video.